Chapter 2254, Prism. Fatty Su and Deng Shintong stood within the icy expanse, clearly seeing vast swathes of the cityscape around them. Towering structures had been sliced into fragments like blocks of tofu. Fatty Su couldn't help but swallow hard, gripping his nine-toothed rake tighter. Despite countless drills, witnessing such an absurd technique firsthand still felt utterly bizarre. And yet, despite the vast emptiness around them, they still had no clue where their opponent was. Even if she attacked, they couldn't predict the trajectory of her strike. It was as if her attacks materialized out of thin air. A silver gleam flickered in Deng Shintong's eyes. His gaze shifted slightly, fixing on a point within the ruins. Without hesitation, he drew his long sword and thrust it skyward. A silver four-pointed star erupted upon the blade's edge. The moment the slash was unleashed, it materialized again thousands of meters away in the void. The colossal four-pointed star engulfed a vast area, shattering the entire ruin with its overwhelming radiance. Within the void, a shadowy figure revealed a look of utter astonishment. Deng Shintong's strike had been too sudden. She hadn't anticipated her opponent detecting her location, leaving her no time to evade. Even with preparation, evading Deng Shintong's celestial eclipse would have been nearly impossible. Using the void as a prism for a light-speed slash, she could instantly project her attack across vast distances through the refractive lens. The true weight of this strike lay in its surprise. Her body could no longer maintain stability. Finally revealing a phantom-like, blurred human-shaped shadow, she was violently hurled backward. Prism Melgar vanished back into the void. Her form was nowhere to be seen, yet a trickle of blood seeped from the corner of her mouth. Defense was not her forte, assassination was her specialty. Her power lay in manipulating light and shadow, striking silently and deadeningly. After all, humans must live under the light. She could command that light to become a razor-sharp sword, slicing through everything. This was the first time she'd suffered a setback on the battlefield, sparking an extremely ominous premonition within her. Why do they seem to have defenses against my abilities? Melgar wiped the blood from her lips, her mind filled with confusion. Her light blades had been deflected by the iceberg formations created by Fatty Su, preventing them from striking Fatty Su and Deng Shintong. What light blades dread most isn't thick physical armor, but techniques that warp light itself. Did my power leak? Or was it just a coincidence? She refused to accept the former. She had never participated in the campaigns against Huashu Kingdom. Back then, she was one of the silver armor generals tasked with defending the empire. Therefore, theoretically, it was highly unlikely that Huashu's mutants could have obtained intelligence on her. Unless there was a mole, and at least a silver armor general level mole at that. That possibility was even slimmer. At this rank, willpower was ironclad, they'd die before betraying their nation. So what was really going on? Is it a coincidence? Melgar felt a bit lost now. Still, she decided to strike again as a test. Fleeting glints of light, the killing intent lurked beneath the vast radiance. Formless, ethereal blades of light, so thin they seemed to lack substance, materialized silently in the void, slashing toward Deng Shintong and Fatty Su. This time, she deliberately avoided the icebergs created by Fatty Su. Yet Deng Shintong's lips twitched slightly, and Fatty Su swiftly conjured more colossal ice barriers. This time, it was even more direct. A massive, deep blue ice wall rose between them and Melgar, completely distorting the light. Melgar's attack missed again. This time, she was certain, her opponent fully understood her abilities. Melgar's expression darkened. As a mutant who relied on special abilities to ambush her opponents, the exposure of her powers had severe implications. She couldn't fathom how her opponent could sense her attacks. Unbeknownst to her, in Deng Shintong's eyes, she wasn't a distorted presence at all. Melgar's invisibility worked by warping light. Yet as another light attribute mutant, Deng Shintong possessed extreme sensitivity to light fluctuations. Thus, within Deng Shintong's vision, the spatial area where Melgar stood formed a human-shaped spatial void. All light rays had to bypass that point. Far too conspicuous, Deng Shintong murmured softly. He drew his sword once more, unleashing the celestial eclipse slash in an instant. Beside Melgar, the massive four-pointed star reappeared. Its radiant power caused her pupil to contract sharply. He can not only sense my attacks, but precisely pinpoint my location. 2 times couldn't be coincidence. She'd been even more cautious this time, yet he still detected her. Did this mean her abilities were now completely under his control? This time, Melgar was prepared. She formed a barrier of light beside herself, colliding violently with the four-pointed star. But by then, Deng Shintong and Fatty Su had already charged toward her location, one in front and one behind, moving with lightning speed. In Deng Shintong's vision, she appeared as a black lizard-like void. He shared his sight with Fatty Su, enabling him to pinpoint Melgar's location with precision. Melgar sensed the dire situation. Her information was completely compromised, yet she remained ignorant of her opponent's specific abilities. This battle would be tough. Without hesitation, Melgar turned and fled into the sprawling city. Skyscrapers towered throughout the urban district, looming like mountains to human eyes. Amidst these towering peaks, where light could reach, shadows inevitably followed. Melgar altered her tactics, concealing herself within the shadows. Light and shadow were 2 sides of the same coin. Beyond manipulating light to create invisible threats, she could also command shadows in combat. But Deng Shintong and Fatty Su were equally aware of this. Melgar's speed was not swift, so when the two closed in, Deng Shintong clasped his hands together, summoning a colossal heavenly Dao star to hover over the city. Fatty Su, wielding his 9-toothed rake, instantly conjured a blizzard around his body. Within a 5-kilometer radius, temperatures plummeted as frost crystallized upon the ground and structures, forming massive icicles. Reflected and refracted by these ice pillars and walls, brilliant light flooded the entire district, nearly obliterating every shadow visible to the naked eye. Melgar's heart pounded wildly. This sensation filled her with profound unease. It felt as though every step she took was already within their grasp. Chapter 2255, Prism 2. Deng Shintong leapt into the air, soaring upward. High above, he spread his arms wide. Great Sumeru illusion. Like a silver sun, his entire body erupted in blinding radiance. Wherever the light touched, the eyes absorbed the intensity, overwhelming the nerves. Caught off guard, Melgar was overwhelmed by intense hallucinations. She remained within the city's vicinity, yet suddenly saw the human youth appear before her, striking her directly with a sword. Ah! Startled, Melgar swiftly retreated, summoning a barrage of light blades to slash at him. But the moment her attack launched, the youth's form before her dissolved like foam. Everything was an illusion, yet not entirely so. Deng Shintong's mastery over the Great Sumeru illusion grew ever stronger. This illusion blended everything visible before them, making 99% of it real. Only his and Su Chunlei's figures were illusory. Unable to pinpoint their locations, Melgar launched blind attacks, easily revealing her position and granting the pair an opening to strike. Fatty Su took a deep breath, cupped his left hand like a megaphone before his mouth, and blew a powerful gust toward Melgar on the distant street. Blizzard! A bitter cold surge erupted from his mouth, instantly coalescing into a massive ice storm. The frigid air enveloped shards of ice and snow, sweeping toward them from the end of the street. But Melgar was now in a state of mental chaos, seeing enemies attacking her from all directions, front, back, left, and right. A massive 4-pointed star also appeared directly above her head. The visual illusion, by overwhelming her senses, had completely robbed Melgar of her ability to assess the situation. She could only hastily form a multitude of light barriers around her body, attempting to fend off all incoming attacks. Yet this scattered defensive tactic proved utterly inadequate against assaults coming from 2 directions. Deng Shintong and Fatty Su struck simultaneously, one from the front, the other from the rear flank, their combined blow tearing a massive gap in her defenses. Boom! An icy storm swept across the long street, mercilessly obliterating every building in its path. The massive 4-pointed star detonated behind Melgar like a high-energy bullet. The dual impact sent Melgar's body reeling violently, a trickle of blood continuously spilling from the corner of her mouth. An illusion. It's an illusion. Melgar realized this instantly, stunned to encounter a kindred spirit who could manipulate light itself. The difference lay in their methods. Her power harnessed the force of light for lethal strikes, while his directly controlled the light rays themselves. Purely in terms of ability trait, Deng Shintong's power surpassed hers, completely overwhelming her. Had his ability index been sufficiently high, he wouldn't even need Fatty Su's assistance to take Melgar down single-handedly. Yet even now, their overwhelming advantage remained unshaken. The superior supernatural ability's suppression of the inferior one, coupled with the absolute information gap, left Melgar utterly unable to retaliate. To avoid being affected by the light and shadow illusions, she could only close her eyes. But closing her eyes meant she could no longer rely on light to attack. Melgar clutched her chest. That strike hadn't caused severe external wounds, but the close-range explosion of celestial eclipse's engraved energy had damaged her internal organs. Ultimately, she chose to close her eyes. At the last possible moment, her entire body suddenly transformed into a shadow and plunged into the ruins. If she couldn't become light, then she would become shadow. This way, she wouldn't be suppressed by Deng Shintong's light-based abilities. The city had indeed been bathed in light, but after successive battles, collapsed buildings had created spaces of shadow. Deng Shintong's brow furrowed, yet he showed no urgency in pursuing her. For Melgar possessed another ability, concealing her attacks within the shadows. Just as she concealed her attacks within light. Thus, rushing blindly into the darkness would only squander his advantage. Tianpeng. Deng Shintong exchanged a glance with Fatty Su. Fatty Su gave him an okay gesture before immediately spreading a frigid current toward Melgar's direction. Boom! 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 Giant ice pillars erupted from the ground, towering majestically as if two colossal mountain ranges had sprung from the Earth's depths. These blue ice formations soared hundreds of meters high, rapidly extending along the streets toward Melgar's fleeing path. They even curved upward at the sky's highest point. Before long, Melgar realized the entire district she stood in was completely enveloped by a colossal blue ice dome. Let me show you the results of our 4 months of joint training. Fatty Su chuckled. We call this the shadowless lantern tactic. Deng Shintong's hands were already clasped together, conjuring an immense, luminous orb that rose high into the sky. Then, using the reflective properties of the colossal ice dome, he illuminated the entire urban area within a 5-kilometer radius, making it as bright as day. The radiance was blinding, as if 10,000-watt floodlights had been planted in every corner. The glare left no blind spots, not even among the rubble piles. Their coordination was honed over years. To counter Melgar's abilities, Fatty Su had meticulously studied the angles of ice columns, ensuring every reflection would erase all shadows. What appeared as a hemispherical dome was, in reality, a super polyhedron. With shadows vanishing, Melgar, concealed within the darkness, was forced into the open. She still sought to use the light to hide, but the mocking smiles in Deng Shintong and Su Chunlei's eyes made her realize how absurd her actions were. Damn it! What are you laughing at? Melgar erupted in fury, unleashing massive beams of light that sliced ruthlessly through the air, hurtling toward the two men. Yet these attacks merely passed right through their bodies. Illusion. As long as she kept her eyes open, she remained trapped in the illusion. She possessed no ability to fight with her eyes closed. Boom! The 4-pointed star exploded beside her, instantly shattering her entire arm. Ah! A piercing scream erupted from Melgar's throat. The next moment, a colossal torrent of ice and snow surged toward her. Hundreds of meters high, it carried countless razor-sharp ice spikes. A direct hit would likely pulverize her into strawberry ice shavings. Melgar could no longer distinguish reality from illusion. She could only endure the excruciating pain to defend herself. Chapter 2256, Turning the Tables. But while the light shield protected her front, the attack struck from behind. Hard ice spikes pierced her body. A ferocious ice dragon surged skyward, hoisting her form high into the air. Melgar's body froze instantly, her life extinguished completely. The more bizarre the ability, the quicker the demise. Those ability users wielding such a specialization were a fusion of extreme power and extreme fragility. Once their ability was exposed and thoroughly studied, they became incredibly vulnerable. Dying at the hands of Fatty Su and Deng Shentong's combined efforts, she had no cause for grievance. Within the Wulwan Empire, the battle raged on. Yet the Huashu Kingdom alliance forces advanced relentlessly, sweeping through defenses and pressing steadily toward the central city district. Gradually, within the realm-binding chain domain, Jinglu also received news of the Silver Armor General's demise. A wave of impatience swiftly spread through his heart. Yet he knew he had no choice but to swiftly eliminate the enemy before him. Surging energy blasted from the Wulwan Empire's energy tower, concentrating within his body until it nearly tore him apart. He pursued Jeang Yi relentlessly, attacking with a desperate, all-or-nothing ferocity. Jeang Yi also felt the strain of this battle. In terms of combat experience, physical strength, and mastery of supernatural abilities, Jinglu far surpassed him. Yet, relying on his thorough preparation in Ling's nearly immortal human vessel, Jeang Yi stubbornly prevented Jinglu from gaining an advantage. Jinglu raged, his form blurring into countless afterimages as he pursued another white phantom in midair. Their clash occurred thousands of times in every single instant. Jeang Yi weaved and dodged, desperately avoiding direct collisions of brute force with Jinglu. Though Ling's body was formidable, Jinglu's explosive assault rapidly depleted the stored power within her. Now, only 20% remained. Jeang Yi felt much like a communication device with its battery running dry. Xinxin, it's up to you now. If this continues, I truly won't last, Jeang Yi silently urged in his mind. Jinglu, like a colossal black serpent, twisted and contorted within the endless gale as it pursued him. The terrifying energy in its hands seemed poised to tear the very fabric of reality apart. It slammed together with a violent impact, unleashing a devastating slash toward Jeang Yi. Mind slash, as my will dictates, all things shall be cleaved. Jinglu's mastery of his abilities had reached terrifying heights, nearly transcending the limitations of his ability trait. Even with the predictive capabilities of the second hand of time, the distance between them was too close, leaving Jeang Yi scant time to react. As the strike closed in, he could only force his body backward while his left hand swiftly traced dozens of phantom strokes through the air. Dimensional string severance shattered space, extracting the strings that anchored the physical world. This unleashed staggering destructive force at that point, blocking Jinglu's assault. This energy collision proved effective, significantly weakening the Heart's Will slash's power. The scattered aftereffects were insufficient to harm Jeang Yi. If this continues, I won't defeat him before my energy depletes. Then you'll be doomed for sure. Ling's human form kindly reminded Jeang Yi. Thanks, I know. Jeang Yi understood too well that he couldn't afford to delay any longer. Yet, at least until now, everything remained firmly within his grasp. After their clash, Jeang Yi widened the distance between them. Cracks appeared across Jinglu's body, like the split surface of a fully ripened pomegranate. Green flesh, grotesquely exposed, oozed from the fissures. This was the result of his body collapsing from forcibly absorbing excessive energy. To kill Jeang Yi as quickly as possible, Jinglu was fighting for his life. Their clash had now raged for nearly 2 hours. Protected by Ling's human form, Jinglu couldn't kill Jeang Yi, yet he was rapidly draining the energy stored within Ling's body. If gathered, that energy could easily obliterate an entire human kingdom. It's been long enough, Jeang Yi murmured these words. Jinglu remained silent, resorting to the simplest and most effective offensive method, the mind slash, to attack Jeang Yi. A black energy sphere coalesced in his palm. He hurled it with all his might toward Jeang Yi. The sphere erupted with terrifying energy, unleashing a colossal light screen that seemed poised to cleave heaven and earth, engulfing everything ahead. This time, however, Jeang Yi did not evade. He clenched his palm, everything under heaven was useless now. Instead, he spread his arms wide before him, opening a doorway barely tall enough for one person. the most primal form of a dimensional gate. Jeang Yi's defensive power did not diminish with the number of gates, it actually increased. Everything under heaven was merely a layered structure designed to increase error tolerance. In truth, this single gate possessed the most stable defensive power and the greatest capacity to absorb external energy. Of Jeang Yi's 3,000 realms, only one remained to store his supplies, the rest had all converged into this one. This most primordial dimensional gate forcibly absorbed Jinglu's kill at will. Boom! A black beam shot toward Jeang Yi, heading straight for his body, violently striking the dimensional gate. This time, it wasn't pierced through. Instead, like a colossal whale, it absorbed the entire colossal energy. Jinglu watched the scene, his gaze shifting repeatedly. But he quickly identified the flaw. Having dispelled everything under heaven, Jeang Yi could only defend one direction, leaving his entire body exposed. All he needed was to close the distance, then he could tear this form apart with a single punch. Jinglu, unaware of Ling's true identity or the terrifying extent of her power, naively thought. This time, however, before he could strike, Jeang Yi's counterattack arrived first. For Jeang Yi had closed his dimensional gate, now suspended motionless midair. Ling's human form was so exquisitely ornate, so dazzlingly beautiful, it could easily be mistaken for a mere ornament, not the ultimate superhuman vessel forged from the universe's most resilient material. Jeang Yi drew a deep breath and slowly raised his right hand. From the very start of this battle, every attack you've launched at me, every ounce of energy you've gathered, I shall return it all to you. No sooner had the words left his mouth than a colossal, dark star abruptly materialized above Jeang Yi. Gigantic, pitch-black, chaos, it radiated a terrifying, overwhelming pressure, like a dark celestial body poised to spiral out of control and obliterate everything at any moment. Marshal Jinglu, this is my ultimate strike. Come and try to block it. Sin of blasphemy. After speaking, Jeang Yi slammed the star, a storm of boundless chaotic energy, down toward Marshal Jinglu with a single hand.